Yo, welcome. It's UnPC episode 1, Unpolitically Correct.
Episode uno.
Numero 1.
Hola.
Yo, it's your boy JP on the mic.
It's TJ, Timbo, whatever.
It's your boy Q, aka Qster Nostra.
Qster Nostra.
Aka Q's line is it anyways.
Oh,
Qstradamus over there.
How many motherfuckers are actually gonna pick up on that? Because whose line is it anyways?
Right?
Is a banger of a show.
I'm not plugging.
It's a banger of a show.
Not plugging. I'm saying I drop sauce and then people eat it up. That's it. That's all I can do.
Those Q bombs.
I drop those Q bombs,
Banger.
those Q liners.
I think we're done with that.
Q's line is it anyways? Qster Nostra.
I like it. That's
your boy.
Anyways, episode 1.
Episode 1, I'm excited.
We got our name finally figured out.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. You guys are gonna, tune into some previous episodes, some previous reruns, but it's all good stuff all around anyways.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna enjoy it all around, you know what I'm saying?
I would say.
Yo, so, man, a lot of shit to talk about.
What day is today?
July 12th.
July 12th, 2020. At the time of
Florida.
recording.
Fuck. Shit,
Time
Yes.
flowers.
Yeah, I know, right?
First topic of the day. Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
Gilly
Gilly Maxwell.
Gilly the kid.
She's
maybe I shouldn't
dangerous,
say
man.
that given the context.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't associate
Nah.
kids with Ghislaine.
Yeah, nah.
Whatever it is.
Almost
Who cares?
So fill the viewers in for those who don't know who that is.
This
Oh,
is
man.
Epstein's girlfriend, essentially.
So
She was getting kids for him to
the enabler.
Jeffrey
really.
Epstein was
Diddle,
essentially
you know
a
what I mean?
billionaire
Yep.
who had a private island,
Yep.
who was sex trafficking essentially,
Sex
Pretty much,
trafficking, getting in,
pedophilia.
yeah, getting down with all that pedophilia.
Yeah, and this girl was
I can't say none of that
his
shit.
mistress, girlfriend /
Enabler, hardcore enabler.
Yeah, definitely.
She
Enabler
was,
is not even
in a sense, I kind of feel like she was more dangerous than Epstein, man.
Yeah,
She's
she was
like the
luring them
stealer.
in.
She was, yeah, man.
She was luring them in because she was going out to other women and claiming to be looking for models and things like that. You know what I mean? So a woman coming to another woman or a young lady versus Epstein
Grown
himself,
man,
grown man.
Yeah.
It's more.
She's
I don't want to say
dangerous.
enticing, but it's almost more believable for them. Probably, I would
course.
imagine. So she was very dangerous in the whole grand scheme of things. I could see, and they're saying that she has video archives of high up politicians
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yikes.
My thing is and this was reported by Daily Mail, or Daily Mail or Daily News. Daily Mail is a little sketchy. Sometimes they're not always the most factual.
Most
site.
Credible.
site
Yeah,
for
but I
factual
think Daily
information.
News might have said it. Either way, if that's the case, let's entertain it for a bit. If she does actually have some type of archive, some type of USB drive with these videos, it's just enough of the talking about it, and let's get these motherfuckers rounded up and
prosecuting these people
them.
caught.
Yes, let's get
On
her
video.
talking.
Legit.
Let's get her talking.
I'm sure she's willing
Before
to
she
talk.
gets suicided.
Yeah,
Suicided. Honestly,
Before
we need
they
to coin that
X her
term because that's literally what's happening
before
to
they
anybody.
Epstein her.
Right, before.
Legit.
Yeah, exactly. We already
Solid.
coined that one.
Yeah, that was a
before
good
they
one.
Epstein Gillian.
Yo, because literally, I mean, it's a matter of time, man. It's a matter of time, and we all know if motherfuckers really want her gone, literally there's no time
She'll be gone.
wasted
It's
for any of this
Ixnay.
bullshit.
We would honestly by
It's-
the time we drop this,
Honestly,
Be like, Ghislaine
yo,
who?
right.
legit, Ghislaine who or whatever the fuck.
Somehow
however the
her
fuck.
paperwork's missing and she's no longer in the jail. What?
Wait,
Oh,
what?
man.
No, I'm saying that's what.
No, it's
That's
just
what
like
could
that's what's gonna end up happening if we don't hurry up with the prosecuting, fucking making multiple, or at least housing all of this evidence on multiple sources, because this
Yes,
could be
that's
very
crucial.
much if it's on a USB drive.
We need that shit on everyone's laptop. We need that WikiLeaks now.
Legit, we need that. That needs to be.
It needs to be on Twitter, whatever.
Facts. It's gotta be motherfucking. It's gotta be
My thing is it's similar to
DM me.
It's similar to R. Kelly. R. Kelly had tapes
Yeah.
They found new tapes allegedly. You know what I mean? Those haven't become public access like the first trial, but if they can do it with R. Kelly, they can do it with
absolutely with
Gilead over here.
Whatever the fuck her name is.
Gillian, like your T-shirt.
I mean, it's one of those things where like, what do you guys see happening to her? Let's say, for example, what do you guys think is going to happen if they prosecute? They get all this evidence. What do you guys think is actually going to happen?
It doesn't seem like it's gonna go that far. I think that
you know what I'm saying?
she's
Like,
gonna
let's
get killed before it happened, bro.
Like,
I feel like she gets charged, and honestly, I feel like they're gonna charge her because the public is like,
yeah,
you can't Epstein. How many people can you publicly Epstein? You know what I mean?
Legit.
As much as money will pay for.
You know what I mean? So they're gonna have her sit around in jail. They're gonna book her, but I don't think any politician ever gets. No active politician is gonna get exposed. Get exposed. I don't think so. Because you got to think, and I mean this is sick, but on the large scale, I mean these pedophiles are all within, unfortunately the system, the fabric of the judicial system and just politics in general. These people are going to protect each other at the end of the day. That's what I believe.
No, I mean it's that's just the way. That's just the way it is.
I feel like that's why we see some of these. A lot of times when people get charged with like let's say pedophilic, child pornography and stuff like that. These charges are like super under. Like they're just super under sentence.
Yeah, like to the average individual, this would have been like a life sentence.
You know what I mean?
But to a politician, it's like.
Not even years
probation.
That's not like that one dude that was doing the kids. He had like 8. He only served 8 years for like 28.
For 28 kids, yeah. This was like the first grade teacher. I'm saying like pedophiles in general are like almost like protected in a sense by the judicial system. I mean,
bro, we touched on this a little bit. You know, they're trying to get rights, similar rights.
They're trying to make it like an LGBT thing.
And they're trying to be attached to that. Yeah.
I have seen that. That's in the recent years online.
It's like, I remember the hashtag being like MAP or something, some weird shit. Minor attracted persons, peoples.
Oh, that's crazy, bro.
Oh,
dog, like I can't. I mean, my whole
stomach is turning just thinking of it.
And then they're gonna be all right with people killing people, being like, "Oh, I'm just a psychopath."
My whole thing is just like,
I'm a cannibal, It's good.
But I will say, like, and again, I don't associate with any party. I'm a people person. I go for what people are saying and what falls in line with my personal beliefs. Mm-hmm. So if I use the term conservative or liberal, just know that I'm not choosing a side. But I will say that that's kind of the rabbit hole that liberals have opened up with this is like these infinite genders, these infinite everything and acceptance for everything. And now it's like
you're gonna slowly start normalizing these things that we've always considered.
And it's just like you become hypocritical almost if you're like, oh, well, we have to draw the line on that.
Legit.
But we didn't. But we haven't.
Drawn the line on everything.
We've been erasing lines this whole time for the past 10, 15 years steadily.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better, man.
And it's like now we want to draw lines. Do I feel this is the line that needs to be drawn? Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is just a rabbit hole possibly that may have been opened up.
I feel
what I mean?
I saw a post on Facebook yesterday about this, legalizing it, and they're like, oh, after a while, the minors get used to it and they actually start liking it and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they're 8-year-old girls.
It's called being...
kids are so impressionable.
It's called being groomed. It's grooming.
Legit.
Like, look at Woody Allen. This man adopts his daughter and ends up marrying her. Why isn't he in jail?
How is that okay?
Like that's not okay on any...
That's okay? Shout out Bagel Boss. Bagel Man.
Yo, but that's crazy. Bagel Man bugging.
That shit is just ridiculous.
We're taking it outside.
It's one of those things where it's just like, it just seems like things like this don't get any traction because they found a new way or a new distraction for the month or a new distraction for the week.
No, honestly, and I was listening to business radio this morning, and they were talking about how they were talking about the CEO of Goya and how he pretty much pronounced his
Trump.
like
Yeah.
not affiliation, but just like he was pro-Trump and everyone wants to boycott Goya now. And pretty much what the Business Insider dude was saying is like essentially boycotts don't work anymore because one, people in America specifically have such a short attention span, and two, everything's being sensationalized. So every 24 hours, there's a new thing.
Of course.
So today it's the Goya CEO.
Tomorrow it's Amazon.
Tomorrow it's this.
And then it's Wayfair.
Then it's Wayfair, and now it's like nothing really gains any traction because, like I said, the short attention span plus all the sensationalism. Nothing ever sticks, and that's gotta be us.
And that's gotta be a tactic too. Like just bombard people with so much shit. Like how can you genuinely
multiple things?
Like how can you put all of your attention? Like for example, right now it's. I mean, this should have been the shit from the jump for the last like 4 or 5 years since we were talking about it. But Black Lives Matter should have just been what people were on from the jump, right? But nah, they throw something like again, they start throwing this whole map shit. They start throwing this, and I mean, this is just like weekly, like daily.
Oh yeah, this
almost.
has all happened in the last week.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
so it's just like
Wayfair
you
stuff,
you want to correct fucking this whole human trafficking shit.
Of course,
you want everybody to have equal rights. You want to take care of the immigrants that are currently, in detention centers out here, in unfair conditions.
Concentration camps.
But as a person, like you literally don't have the energy to split yourself.
Millions of different houses.
But I will say, then that's when we need a maybe
like a coalition.
Not even that, but just like rather like these movements, because like for instance, like just everything you named, it was kind of like all human rights. Maybe we just need to go more towards human rights in general and not trying to specify which humans.
Yeah,
right. There's like the trans movement, like the Black Trans Lives Matter thing too.
Like you know what I mean? Like we can't, once we start dividing, good people up into groups, when we can just be one large good people.
But then people are gonna say, isn't that all lives matter?
Well, essentially, but this is the thing. By saying Black Lives Matter, you're not saying all lives don't matter.
No, of course. So that's my whole thing. So now I could already see how people would be like, all right, but you're essentially saying all lives matter because the people currently in detention centers, their lives matter.
Yeah, but we're not
these kids.
People aren't being treated as if all their lives matter. You know what I mean?
Right. It's the people that are saying all lives matter that aren't actually treating all lives as if they matter. The people that are saying Black Lives Matter, me included. Yeah. I've actually come out on social media, getting my SJW on. And I've spoken on the kids in the detention centers. I've spoken on black crime,
of course,
and accountability within our own community. I'm speaking on these things. I'm speaking on Vanessa.
You know
what I mean? I'm speaking on these things because they're just human rights issues. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we kind of need to be more focused on. I mean, it's a bigger fish to fry, but at the same time too, on the other side of that token, it's like when you start, if you spread yourself too thin, you become ineffective at the same time.
Yeah, because you're trying to do so much with such little time that you actually have.
But I think as a people, we kind of been brainwashed into thinking that, like, we kind of forget that there's strength in numbers, and they've done a great job in making people believe that there's not many of us out there.
When there's
so many of us.
There's so many of us. Like,
it's almost like there's too many.
We could, to the point that we could effectively be divided to a few different causes and remain effective.
Yes, definitely.
We could remain effective, but I mean, then it also goes down to the tactics being used. You know what I mean? In terms of like being effective.
It's all a matter of what it takes to be effective, and unfortunately that takes capital.
It takes capital. It does.
It does take a lot of capital. So even if you
follow the money,
if you already know. I
would say look into your local nonprofits and see what's going on. Like look into the Black Market Initiative. Like they're trying to do things for the African American community economically. Because that's important. That's the only true equality. That's the only true equality in this country. Is economic equality.
Being able to play, if
you don't have the money to put where your mouth is, no one's listening to you.
That's fine.
That's just
I
what
saw
it
a
is.
thing the other day of the net worth of the African American community in America versus the the white community here.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
like the black community is stagnant at the same like net worth, whereas the white community is just like
It's rising.
rising.
That's
It's
investment.
one of those things
That's,
where it's a level of opportunities that's
flexing, too.
provided. I mean, it's one of those things where we understand what it takes to uplift yourself, right, from any situation, right? But it's also it's a level of it's that isn't being taught
It's
to
not.
the African American community,
It's
unfortunately.
We
It's a
have
lot
to
of
do our
having
due
to
diligence.
self-learn, yeah.
Yes, it all comes back to education.
Of
It
course.
does. Education is
Fathers in the
stems
home.
Education
Absolutely.
is a huge
That's a big one.
aspect on it, and financial literacy not being taught in a capitalistic country just
I don't
doesn't
understand.
make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
That's
Like-
honestly, that's
This needs to be started. Like they need to be learning these kind of things slowly, like as soon as first grade.
Literally.
legit. Like,
You know what I mean?
these are the building blocks to how successful you will be.
Whatever
In the
you
future.
teach a kid, they will learn.
That's my
They're
whole
so
thing. You have to
malleable.
teach them when
Right.
they're younger because they're absolute sponges at that
Right.
age. Like
Yes.
best time to learn a language is between
4
and
years old, yeah.
between newborn, like when he's born, to 4 years old.
Yes.
Right.
So absolutely everything that we need that is needed to be a successful adult can be taught within that age group. And I mean, it could be put in a formula where they understand.
That's the thing that's always like kind of like I found kind of funny about like kid geniuses, because it's like any kid can be a genius. It's just the willingness and the due diligence of that parent putting the arithmetic or putting the curriculum in front of their child.
Of course.
And I mean, and that, to bring it all in, is what the African American community and persons of color in general need to start doing for our kids, because these public schools aren't going to do it for you. We
No.
can sit here and preach until the cows come home and ask and beg and march, whatever, but until we start doing for ourselves, things aren't going
not
to
gonna
get
be-
done.
Yes,
That's just the facts of
definitely.
the matter.
My whole thing is like, I wish homeschooling was more like, it's one of those things where you still, even if you homeschool, you still have to follow a certain curriculum.
Yeah, because you still have this pass, the state
And then you have
tests
to,
and stuff like that.
then you have to go above and beyond that.
You know what I'm saying? I wish there was a method where you can have, I mean, again, I mean, that this takes an insane amount of resources, but if you come up with a curriculum that someone could just verify, I mean, turn around of a couple weeks, boom, it's either accepted or rejected, but it's almost like it holds the same weight as if you were to hit, a low high diploma. You know what I'm saying? Or
right,
something
right.
like that. But everything needs a reform, man. We're dealing with shit
Yes.
that's a little too old,
I was
and
gonna
it's
say
not
yes.
keeping up, and it's not keeping up with the times. I'm sorry,
it's
everything
not.
isn't keeping up with the times.
Unfortunately, like, I love the country, but we are falling behind on some key things, and it's just
Education being one of the in my opinion, the biggest one.
absolutely.
like, and I mean,
We went
like,
from being number one in a lot of these things back in the '60s to
if America is gonna ever be defeated, which, and I'm not saying that's what I want by any means, but figuratively, if America were to be defeated, it's going to be defeated from within.
of course.
The only thing that can destroy this country, this great country,
I
is
agree.
itself.
I agree.
So we need to start correcting ourselves and stop trying to police the damn world all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Get
I mean,
things
there's a level
get things
of-
right on soil.
I mean, there were a couple things, although not too many people kind of like Trump, and that's understandable. I mean, one thing that he was trying to do was, again, is fix the things that are going on here before we start addressing things that are going on
I do agree.
worldwide.
I do agree.
And
with
I
that.
Bring the
personally agree
soldiers
with
back
that.
home.
Bring everybody. I mean, you still have a lot of military bases out there. You still
Yes,
want them
yes.
occupied. But, I mean, if you're in areas where, like, for example, in the Middle East, like, I don't necessarily want to say, like, served our purpose there, but we've had enough time in there where we understand where there's nothing to police anymore.
Right.
You just got to let the people figure it out amongst themselves. Leave them a platform, of course, like, leave them with elected officials that work and are, trying to see the country come back to its former glory. But as soon as you do that, you yank everybody and you just come back home and you let them deal with it. We
My thing
can't
is this,
remain in
like,
these areas.
I feel like what America. I mean, well, we have to touch on the fact that things aren't always what they seem, right? So
Of course.
That's true.
anytime America puts boots on the ground, they're always gonna give you a motive behind it in front of the ulterior motive. You know
Of
what I mean?
course,
There's
yeah.
always these dual motives, you know, and a lot of times
Absolutely.
we're just in many places in the name of democracy. You know, the American,
Yeah.
the eagle. You know, we're just the eagle trying to make things that, you know, trying to get the spread democracy or whatever.
Of course.
But realistically, it's just like I feel what we should start doing is kind of like pulling back, let these countries call upon our forces, stop trying to impose our will on these countries.
Legit. Some systems just it's almost like coaches in the NBA, man. Some systems for some players, certain coaches click. For some it don't. And it's the same thing. I mean,
it's the same thing in learning in school.
You know what I'm
Everybody
saying?
learns a different way.
different way. Like, yo, when you're talking about, you know, the culturally rich, you know, the world is in general, you know, just injecting motherfucking democracy in all these places does not fix shit.
It
You know what I'm
doesn't.
saying? So that's something that, I mean,
Yeah, then
Did you guys
then you
hear
can say
about-
we have a democracy.
Did you guys
quote,
hear about
unquote.
what they're doing in Hong Kong and China?
With what?
So pretty much like communist China, I think within like 28 years is going to be able to like they're going to take over Hong Kong again.
you know, they already started doing
yeah,
that, right?
that's what I was going to touch on.
It's crazy.
So like there was massive protests. So there's 7 million people in Hong Kong alone, right? They were saying I think at peak there was like 2 million protesters in Hong Kong.
Damn.
2 out of every 7 people were out there protesting, you know, to prolong pretty much keeping communist China out of Hong Kong. Didn't work.
Nah.
So now what they're doing is like they've passed a law where they can literally extradite the citizens of Hong Kong to communist China and charge
protesting?
them there for protesting.
Yikes.
That's absurd.
Yeah, it's
Yikes.
crazy.
Yo.
It's crazy.
And that's my whole thing. Like, yo, like China in general, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I mean, we understood that communism did not work back then. And the particular dangers of being a communist state where, again, you're not giving the people to speak out when things aren't going right. And literally that, yo, like, if you say anything that goes against the regime, you're dead.
You're done.
You're dead.
Yeah, that's
you know
not-
what I'm saying? And then to get even more Orwellian, it's one of those things where, like, they're introducing, like, fucking social credits. Like, fucking, like, if you're an outstanding, like, citizen, you get access to certain things where if you're out here, you know, protesting, fucking just everything anti-communism, you're not allowed access to certain
Very
things.
Black Mirror-esque.
Yeah,
So you're going back
exactly.
to the basics of like the hierarchy system from back in the like,
Exactly. And
Stone
even worse.
Ages.
But even
Yeah,
worse,
even
because
worse.
now we're going like. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. But yeah, even worse because now we're doing things like socially, not even just like economically.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
You're basing everything off, you know, people's merits and things like that. You
Which
know
is
what I'm
odd.
saying? Exactly. It just
incredible.
it's something that
You
doesn't
gotta
necessarily
think like we're
click.
talking communist China. These people have limited internet access. Like they
Yeah.
like
And it's all government run internet.
Right.
So they essentially
It's
they filter
propaganda.
everything. Exactly.
it's all propaganda
Exactly.
at that
They
point.
filter what their people see.
And it's just like
And it's given again, I mean, you know, you're given fucking distorted views of other countries and other
Right.
policies and, you know, all this other shit. I mean, I personally don't see any good coming out of this. And unfortunately,
no,
it's,
none, zero.
it's
from
going to
a
be one of
morale
those things
standpoint,
where,
definitely not.
you know what I'm saying? And I mean, it's just a matter of like ultimately what's going to happen to China. Because it's just like,
There's gonna be a war,
you think so?
a civil war, maybe.
The Civil War.
But how
I
when
think it's just
their
like-
people don't have any weapons? It's just a
Right.
matter of like
That's the thing
I
that
don't know.
they would benefit from that.
legit thing.
People would freedom would benefit from that.
freedom.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
they don't. That's the thing about the Second Amendment here is like you start taking away people's guns and you know right to assemble,
right
protest,
to throw over the government.
speech.
If
You
there's
allow
some
that to
tyranny,
breed. You allow communism to breed, in a sense. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, and
You
I
allow it to
mean
breed.
that's why we have to like kind of be weary with certain things because like a lot of times in America, what I'm seeing is like an incident will happen and then we want to put a blanket law over everything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's
for instance,
definitely what happens.
For instance, like the go-to, right? School shootings. The incident happens. Very unfortunate. Very sick individuals doing these crimes, these murders, and then it's just like, all right, now they're trying to do these blanket laws where it's like, all right,
Like
we're taking all, we're trying to take all the guns.
Assault weapons.
It doesn't make sense. Like, we can't take individual acts and then put blanket laws to fix those things. How about we fix those areas where they're happening? You know what I mean?
Legit, because sometimes it's just a matter of, my whole thing is just like, what's the NSA doing? Because it's just like, from what, I mean, a good majority of these people are talking about the heinous acts they want to commit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We touched on that last podcast, actually.
It's because
what are they doing?
I get it.
What are they doing?
I get, sometimes I kind of understand, like, the lack of effort. From our point of view, it looks like they're not trying, but we gotta also hold it. We gotta also
millions of people.
Not even that it's millions of people, but they have to hold the First Amendment. You know what I'm saying? They have to uphold that. So it's like they have to give us the space to say whatever we want, as heinous as it may be.
But the thing is, if you're inciting violence, you're going against the First Amendment.
But so let's say someone says something, like, because we don't want to start looking communist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely
so
not.
if I say something that's even inciting violence and I get arrested for that, how is that going to look to other American citizens when it's almost like, like, you know what I mean?
I think
like,
its actions speak louder than words. So like, you could say whatever you want, but when you start getting the means to be then do one of these heinous acts, then they should act before the act actually occurs, which I'm sure they've done many times.
Because there's actions that lead up to that final action. So, homie in Las Vegas bringing in tons of suitcases slowly but surely, those are the actions that need to be looked into.
And this gentleman was on a watch list already. Like, they
already on a watch list. The dude in Florida was already on a watch list. You know what I mean? Dylan Roof was already on.
Yes.
Already looked into.
Not hard enough.
The other guy in Florida that shot up
the club.
Yeah, the LGBTQ plus club.
Yep.
That guy was already on a watch list, but and I think he purchased his weapon like maybe a week or two. I could be wrong, but a week or two prior to the act.
That's what happens.
So it's just
I mean, some things. I mean, from what we're seeing, if people are already on these lists and they ultimately end up committing these crimes, there was an opportunity. There was a slight opportunity that this could have been prevented by,
for sure,
government officials. Yeah, definitely.
The thing about the NSA, the thing about the NSA though, like, is like they cast this broad net, so they're gonna tap, 3 million, which might even be an understatement.
Yeah,
no,
they're gonna tap 3 million phones and then effectively apprehend, a handful of people.
Legit.
So people start feeling like you're stepping on toes now. It's like, why are you tapping all these? Why are you tapping such a large group of people and
getting nothing done
and not even getting nothing done? But it's like, are you tapping 3 million phones just to get 3 people? Like, that just seems like now my privacy is being invaded for what?
And that's a waste of money at that point.
Yeah, of course, that's a waste of resources.
What's the return on investment?
And then
we're talking about people's lives at this point, so I don't know why I'm talking business.
We'll just redact that. We'll redact that.
My thing is also though, like, with encryption and stuff like that, like, it's hard to really, like, if someone wants to go unnoticed, they really are going to. Like, it's
just stay off the grid.
It's hard to really like, you can't tap one-on-one conversations. I mean, there are devices, around that are listening at all times.
Even WhatsApp and Facebook that say they do encryptions. They're like, the government is known to have the backdoor logs to a lot of these things.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
So
legit.
I mean,
it's
just a matter of, like, again, I mean, how to explain it? I mean, I don't know if they view things kind of like utilitarian, kind of like, all right, like, if it's not creating a mass amount of harm, unfortunately, this is something that, again, they're gonna let happen. I hope they're not thinking that.
I mean, you're
way.
talking about terrorism.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. But I
each
mean,
of these
that's
acts is
I think you're touching on
terrorist.
I think what you're touching on is a valid point because it's almost kind of like what the FDA does, where it's like things are going to get approved if they can be bad for you, but if they're not going to cause bodily harm right then and there, then it's fine. They let it go.
I mean, that's true.
Or
you know what I mean?
Like, a certain percentage per.
And you can have this many rat feces in a.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, it's can't. Oh, it's a
spider legs and peanut butter. Like, yo,
it's cancerous, but because it happens over time, they let it slide. You know
what
I
mean? Taking an
Isn't that
absurd
poison,
amount to
though?
actually be poisonous.
Right.
Isn't that poison though?
That's what.
No,
that's
it is. Yeah, but I mean, let's say for example,
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
soda within itself is essentially poison.
The amount of sugar in that just breaks down absolutely everything.
Everything. Nothing about soda really should be going into your body.
So many ulcers.
It's crazy,
man. Shit. Fucking. God damn it.
I was hearing about this thing with Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, fill us in.
Yeah, you're gonna have to fill us in on this one.
So basically,
I love Halle Berry, by the way.
Yeah, true.
Yes, basically.
It was just
yes. I had to give my opinion
I appreciate
also.
That.
But basically, she accepted a role for a movie that she would be a transgender woman or man. I don't know the details on that.
Okay.
But she got massive backlash from the transgender community.
For taking the
role.
Oh.
Not because of her, but because of she's not transgender. So she shouldn't take a role that is they're saying that is for someone that should be that's a transgender should have that role or whatever. So she stepped down from the movie and apologized to the community or whatever.
Honestly, I remember Asians, believe it or not, they're kind of going through it in a lot of Hollywood films because
that's true too.
For example, like in Avatar, like again, that was a white boy, filling a very Asian role,
right?
Because if you look at Avatar, you can see where this is okay. This
you're talking about the last Airbender.
Yeah, the last Airbender. Sorry, I forgot about Avatar and then Avatar the Last Airbender.
Why are we talking about that horrendous movie on these airwaves, bro?
Yo, that was atrocious. A very bad take on the greatness that is
1 out of 100. If I could give it a 0, I would.
Honestly, it was absolutely horrible.
But go off.
But nonetheless, it's the same thing. It's like Asians were fighting for getting these roles as opposed to being given to, again, white people, black people, where, again, I mean, if the scripts fits a certain thing, like, for example, I mean, Avatar the Last Airbender is very influenced by Chinese culture.
Martial
things
arts.
Exactly.
Things of that
nature. It would
nature.
make sense where you would get somebody who would fit that role correctly.
Right.
As opposed to just, let me save a little bit of cash, do this.
And it's not even, they're not even saving cash.
It's just a matter of, I mean, I'm just saying, like, whatever the reasons might be.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what tends to happen.
I feel like that's a very big thing in Hollywood that needs to be addressed is like appropriation. We need to have people filling these roles that are actually of that descent. I mean,
of course,
it just needs to be done because, I mean, as we all know, like movies, TV, anything on the TV screen plays a huge role in society and how people think about themselves and not only themselves but the world.
Of course,
you know what I mean. We can't have Caucasian people playing Egyptians.
Yeah, it's just that was like, absolutely atrocious.
Like, what are we doing to history? We can't.
We're writing it like Jesus' way. Apparently,
that's what I'm saying.
The
white
Gibson
Jesus
out
Christ.
here, like, yo, what are we doing?
Now, do we blame the actors for taking the role that's offered to them, or do we blame Hollywood for offering those offers? You know what I mean?
It's a matter of like who's casting these people.
You gotta blame the casting people.
Because like if I'm an actor, I'm taking the job that they offer me to make that money.
If you're offering me, I'm not. There's certain things I wouldn't do. Like I'm not gonna paint my face white. But if you're offering me millions to play a role, I'm gonna play the role most likely, unless it goes against my own like morals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But if you're just asking me to maybe step outside of racial boundaries for millions, I may do it. I'm not gonna say I'm not. I'm not gonna act holier than thou for the sake of this podcast.
For real.
You know what I mean? But it's just a matter of why are these casting people casting, people outside of what it is the characters require. You know what I mean? It's just It's sick. I think part of it goes back to white supremacy. I'm sorry. I really
Well, no,
do.
it does, because like in Hollywood, they used to not cast like, and I mean back in like Shakespeare days, they didn't even have women in the plays.
Yeah,
they had
white
all
men
men,
dressed up.
they're
Yeah.
all white men. So it's like they're playing roles that are designed
And we're still seeing
for
that
women
today.
and men,
Of
stuff
course.
like that.
Still seeing
it's just
that
a trickle
today.
down from there.
Exactly.
And then
Strange how that
So I
works.
applaud Holly Berry for stepping down. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
definitely.
I
My
got-
whole thing is just like, my whole thing is, so she accepted the role, correctly?
Yes.
I mean, so
They didn't
let's
foresee the backlash that was going to happen.
So yeah, that's understandable. I mean, no one can, of course. Like,
Right.
I mean, you could have been perfect for the role, but there's still going to be people that wouldn't want to see
we
you.
So
live in
here's my
backlash
thing, right?
society.
Here's
We live
my
in
thing,
cancel
right?
culture.
Yeah, it's like
I know
fucking
she's
outrage
not a
culture.
transgender,
Yeah,
but would her name bring more awareness to
The
transgenders than a transgender actor that we've never heard of? Does that make sense? I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
saying that it's
possible.
right or
I see
wrong. I'm
what
just
you're
seeing.
I see what you're saying.
I see what you're saying,
It is
because
possible.
it's very much so. Like, if you see something where, whatever the hell it may be, let's say for example, fucking Will Smith is gonna be on there.
Yeah.
We all know who Will Smith is.
It's gonna
Right,
bring
and
people
it
into
actually
the-
brings up a different
character.
point too. Would you have problems if a gay person took a straight person took a role that was a gay person's role?
That happens all the time.
That
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that happens all the
Right,
time.
like Will Smith did that, for instance.
Of
He played
course.
a gay man. Now, would
Wait,
we
did
be
he in that
mad?
movie?
I forget the name of the movie.
I don't recall him doing that, but
Okay.
But
I'm
yeah,
not
it
saying
happens
this.
all
I'm
the
not saying it
time.
didn't
But
happen.
Yeah.
when a gay person plays a straight person, it's fine, right? Why it should still be fine for a gay person, a straight person,
To
to
play a
play
gay-
a gay person.
Okay.
In
at
my
the end of the
opinion.
day, what they're doing is acting.
Right,
Legit,
so
yeah,
I
it's-
think
it's-
that Halle Berry playing a transgender should be fine.
Doesn't necessarily
But, okay,
step onto
but
any
I get
toes.
what they're saying that they want.
To play devil's advocate,
Yeah.
it's like what differentiates race appropriation and gender appropriation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So if we're saying black people need to play black people, how can we not say transgender people need to play transgender people?
Right, but then why don't gay people have to play gay people?
That's the thing.
Damn,
It's just a rabbit hole. We can go down
Well,
this whole-
I'll say gay, homosexual.
Oh, I guess that's not a
Isn't-
gender.
it's not a
so, yeah,
gender
that's
per
true
se.
too. Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah,
You
that's
You know what
true.
I mean?
I mean, so, man, yo, this whole thing. I mean, my whole thing is, yo, I must have been living under a rock for the longest time, but all this shit is just confusing to me, man. So it's
I'm
just like
I don't even know what I am as a straight
I
male.
just know
no, you're a-
I know where
you're
I
a
stand.
There's a word
heterosexual-
for it that I
Yeah.
heard.
You're
and
a
I can't remember the
heterosexual
name.
male
That's not
who's-
the word.
What, heterosexual?
That is one of the words, but there's another word that I've heard.
That's one
and I'm
of
like,
them?
I don't
What
know
are
what
the
that
others?
means. And they're like,
Like-
no, that's you. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I believe you.
So now, see, so I'm gonna go back to this rock that I was living on. Because I just don't understand what
My
the
thing
fuck.
is just like, why do we have to go so far in like categorizing everything? Why does anyone have to be a category? Nothing's black and white about being a human being.
Absolutely, bro.
And even with
Legit.
that, and even with all of these categories, it's like someone can be one thing today and another thing tomorrow.
Facts.
So why are we going to these extents to put people in a box?
Facts.
That's all we're trying
Some
to do,
people just
literally.
want to be, yeah.
You're gonna be put in a box all your life, and then you're gonna be put in a box at the end of your life. You know what I mean?
It's just like I'm living outside. I mean, I'm gonna state this on the air. I'm definitely heterosexual, but in terms of me being a human being on this marble, I'm living outside. I'm living outside of boxes. I'm living outside of categories. Don't label
don't
me.
ever put yourself in certain situations. It's just like, yo, I'm pro common sense. I
Right.
am common
Please
sense.
be common sense.
I am just common sense. Like, yo, if you bring up a topic, I'm gonna give you a common sense iteration of whatever the fuck you're presenting to me.
Right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I mean, I'm a person who, again, is open-minded and is willing to listen to your point. And maybe we may even come to some sort of middle ground. But for the most part, it's just I'm just common sense. Just JP Common Sense Pena.
That's
That's my middle name now.
live and let live Q. Like I'm
Respect.
gonna do me. I'm gonna be
Respect.
happy with me, my shorty, my family unit, whatever. And whatever family unit you decide to build, as long as y'all happy and not hurting anybody else,
Boom.
go right on ahead.
Who cares?
As
I
long
don't
as
care
you're not-
what you
Go
label
crazy.
yourself, and I'm
Yes.
not going out to any crazy extent to label you.
Right.
Because
Absolutely
now
not.
we've gone into this whole thing with the pronouns.
Yes,
And now
I
they're
want to
saying, like,
deal with this a lot.
my
I
whole
deal with
thing
this
is-
a lot at work. Actually,
Same.
I just want to understand, and I want to understand why there's a certain level of, well, there's such a high level of like you're offending somebody for something that, again, I mean, it's not common knowledge.
It's not.
Because it's going, I mean, it's almost going against the grain, like, because it's like, yo, we all understand that there's two sexes, but then there's an infinite amount of genders.
I want to say this.
Or is it the opposite? No, sex
think it's
is
that way. No,
scientifically there's two sexes. Then gender is what's being divided into ever so many things.
My thing is this, like,
Scientifically
there's 7 billion plus people in the world. All right, no, let me backtrack. So if you're, and I'm saying this, you know, I don't want.
I'm saying I said that from a point of not understanding.
Right.
Someone fill me in, please. I'm willing to be.
I'm gonna go out and say this because I'm seeking understanding as well as you are, and as Tim is as well. We're always in a search for knowledge and understanding. But my thing is this: it's just like if you're going through a process of transitioning, right? And I don't know you personally. You're undergoing a very, from the outside looking in perspective, a very confusing transition, a very confusing thing.
Of course.
Something that, if I don't know you personally, I can't just look at you and tell exactly what's going on. I have no prior knowledge. So where does the sense of offense come in when it's just like you're doing something that's confusing from the outside looking in? So if you're gonna crucify me for being confused?
right, and here's the thing with that. I understand what you're saying.
It's a completely. It's a complex thing.
I know people that don't get offended on the first, like, you said the wrong pronoun, basically.
Yeah.
They'll usually correct you, and then if you keep doing it, then you'll become offended.
Okay,
that's a problem. That's a problem.
That I completely understand.
But there are people that do that other thing where it's like, hey, what's up, man? And then they get mad.
Just jump in the gun.
It's like, yo, I didn't know that. I was at a bar a few years ago, and one of my we were at like a work party or something. One of my coworkers sat down next to this woman that none of us would have known that if she didn't tell us this.
Okay.
But she got so offended that she said that.
And it's just
the wrong
like,
pronoun. It's like, so look, I talked him down. I talked her down. I talked our coworker down from fighting because they were going to literally throw hands in the middle of a bar. And I'm like, you gotta calm down. She didn't mean any offense to you. She didn't know you. She doesn't know you. She's sorry. She would never do that. She's a great person.
She wouldn't do these things intentionally.
Of course.
You have to understand that she didn't know. Like,
right.
So I mean, for those people that are offended at the first
sign of any
of this,
whatever it is, transgression.
Like what should the average person? How can the average person be able to address you correctly? Like, should you just wear t-shirts with like your pronoun or something? Like,
no, now we're getting back into like all this labeling stuff from like Nazism and shit like that.
Legit, you know what I'm saying? But then
no, I get what you're saying. For me, this is what I do in public. I don't say man or woman. I just say, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, you
and then I don't say a pronoun.
Totally.
Unless I know you, I'm not going to say a pronoun because I don't want to get caught up in that. I don't need that. I'm a great person and I don't care. Just let me know what you want me to say to you.
I just want to reiterate
so
my point where it's just like,
now we're restructuring like common conversational tools.
Yes, and that's that. Yes, we are. Yes,
that's a little.
I just want to reiterate my point where it's just like, I understand where the offense is coming from.
Yeah.
Once you can almost prove intent, or once someone's continually getting it wrong. Right. My whole thing is like, at first, like you were touching on.
Yes.
Yeah.
At first, if you're undergoing something that is very complex.
Absolutely.
You can't expect me to lay my two eyes on you and fully understand what's going on as a human being.
That's almost
please. There's not enough people that are willing to enlighten other people or be enlightened themselves.
And please don't be an asshole about it either.
Legit,
you don't have to be rude in the enlightening because I was confused.
And what that does is that sets like almost like a negative
connotation.
Connotation on people that now you just have to be like, it's almost like you're expecting this to happen from people that are of your pronoun, because it's just like, if this is my first encounter and this is how we're gonna go about things, you see where you set the negative precedent.
It's like being a I'll say like being a black person
sometimes because I can't say the wrong thing at work or you know what I mean.
Similar to that, it's like being a black person in America. I have to constantly tell myself that I have to tell myself and do things while being in public, because I know that I'm pretty much. Everywhere I go, I'm essentially a spokesperson for black people everywhere. Yeah. So I have to set a good, impression, a good example. And it's a lot to wear on my shoulders, don't get me wrong. And some black people will say that I damn sure don't have to do that. But when we live in a country where we're being slayed for being black on one end, you know, people look at us in fear. So I feel like I want to just do my due diligence in trying to destigmatize being black. You know what I mean? Because there's a stigma, unfortunately, to a lot of the bigoted sectors of the nation. Yeah. That being black is a scary thing. You know what I mean? Or being a black person is a scary, you know, less than a human, essentially. Right. So I have to go and show that we're not all bad. Of course, because we're not. It's unfortunate, and like I said, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. These things I've had this conversation with a lot of people in the community.
I mean, you never should have. I shouldn't say anymore. You should never have had to prove these things.
I'm fully acknowledging of the fact that I do not have to do that. Right. I can't. But at this point, it's almost ingrained in my personality. It is almost me being me at that point. Because I've been doing it for so long. I've been trying to be an advocate for the community. Yourself. But to bring it all back into perspective, it's just like how you treat these first encounters with people, as if you're a trans person, just be a little mindful, because unfortunately, you are kind of building what it is the stigma around your demographic could be. You don't want to build a negative. You don't want to build a negative like mindset for people, because you are an example of your demographic. Just like I'm an example for the heterosexual African American male demographic. You know what I mean? Of course. You are everywhere you go. I don't want to say you're the poster child, but you are an example of whatever it is your demographic may be. Yep. And I think we should. Again, you don't have to. You don't have to carry yourself any type of way for anybody. We know this. But be a little mindful.
Yeah, it's all about being mindful.
Be a little mindful.
Yeah. Just understand that
we're all people at the end of the day, and people make mistakes.
People make mistakes. Not everyone knows everything.
Right. If you're going through a very complex transition, expect a little confusion. Expect a little... You know what I mean? I'm not going to be able to understand what's going on. You may not even be able to understand what's going on completely.
I remember, again, I mean, I've been in a situation like this before, and it was one of those things where, like, things were kind of met with a little bit of hostility just because I wasn't aware of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, and that's like, it's one of those things where, like, just being a human being in general is already tiring. Right. Now that you're just adding to a lazy motherfucker like me, man. Now you're just adding more things that I have to be hyper aware of. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I definitely understand.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, to me, it's just kind of nuts. Like, yo, any aliens out there, man, if y'all want to school, please do.
Hit me up.
I just want to let me. Please school transgender note, because I don't, like I
just said. Scoop me.
Scoop P and Tim up. Please. I just want people to know, like, listen, it's all love, no hate.
Oh, absolutely.
I respect everyone, and I respect everyone who respects me even more. You know what I mean? It's a mutual thing. It's the golden rule, you know, treat others how you would like to be treated.
Simple.
I'm a huge proponent of that.
Simple cosign.
Also, live and let live Q. If you're not hurting people, you're not hurting me. I could care less what the fuck. Doing, I could care who you're doing, what you're doing.
True that.
To be completely honest.
Touching on that, I think it was like either in Canada or the UK. That's actually considered a crime.
What?
Like using the wrong pronoun.
I mean, yeah, it can.
It's kind of crazy.
I can
That's
see
a
how
hate
it could be a
crime.
hate crime
It can
if you're
be
doing
considered a
it
hate crime because
with intent.
they are a protected group.
Okay.
And like harassment. And
Yeah,
you get
no, I
harassment
understand
lawsuits
that.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, it happens. It happens.
But how can-
you
but-
have to prove intent on those
That's
things?
what I'm
though.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
You
If
have
can
to prove intent.
So let's touch
So,
on
like-
that. How do you prove intent?
So
If
for
I
same thing.
enlighten
So if
you-
I'm at work, right?
Okay.
And somebody, let's just say she is changing to a he.
Okay.
So now
So he tells us, hey, can you just address me as he, please? And he let me know this, right?
Right.
And then I'm still the same person that I am before, and I'm like, hey, girl, can you go, or she, and then I was talking to another coworker about her, and I keep saying her and she, and not using the pronoun that they asked me to use.
Fuck, man,
and that's
that's-
provable by coworkers, his interaction with me, whatever.
Fuck.
Then I get caught up in a harassment
brain
lawsuit
hurts,
or
bro.
jail or whatever it could be. Because
Yeah.
I mean, that would probably just be a lawsuit at that point, unless I like harass them physically,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Sheesh.
It's a very it's a very touchy.
It's one of
subject.
those
It's
things where,
very
like,
confusing.
man, there's so many complexities to this. Like,
Because it's just like there
feel
are
our
honest,
I mean, it goes the
there
same-
are honest,
it's
there are
kinda
honest
this-
mistakes.
That's true.
But I mean, I feel like
I'm out of the
I feel
loop.
like intent could almost like it can't be. It's hard to prove, but it's very easy to. It's very easy to like implicate. Like I can tell when you're implying your intent.
Yeah.
Like just in tone.
Right. Like I could accidentally slip out and say she,
Right.
and then I'm like, oh, he.
It's hard to
You know what I mean?
prove
Sometimes
intent,
it's
but
not
tone
on
and
purpose.
things like right.
Right.
Like I
There's
can.
there's a lot of context to it. I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like how you say it, like your tone. Like if you're like, oh, she did that, and you're not like immediately backtracking, like you can tell that you're doing it the wrong
tone
way.
and context are everything. I
100%,
feel
yes.
like when it comes to these situations where it's like if your tone is very disingenuous and you're trying to belittle a person, we can tell.
100%,
of course.
Most adults can tell when someone's trying to belittle who they are.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm the type of
100%.
guy, like, if someone tries to belittle me, I'm at your neck. Like, I don't do belittling. But at the same
Just don't
token,
disrespect
I do
me.
all the
Yeah.
enlightening in the world. Like, I'm welcoming all the enlighten me. Don't belittle
Legit.
me.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
that's my
just
whole
because
thing.
we have a different opinion doesn't mean to put me down.
Not
or
that,
whatever.
but that's completely separate from
No,
this.
true, but
I just feel like if you're going to, I don't know, like how are these people? Are they paying a fine? Are they being charged? Like what is
I mean, yeah, it goes into fine and depending on severity, jail time.
Okay.
yeah, so it's basically the same. I would say the similar laws that we have here.
It's almost like
No, we don't have hate because that's a hate crime. But we don't have hate crime for those
Yeah, we do.
protected individuals.
Protected classes have hate crime laws
no.
in
But
lots of
verbally?
states and many
My
states. Yeah,
God.
Okay, I know that.
Oh,
I know that.
am out of the mix.
I know that in Boston,
I know
you
in
can pay
my
a fine
in
for
work
saying the
you
B
do.
word.
I don't know about like.
That's what I'm saying.
I know it's definitely
that's a private
legal, but-
corporation though, or
I know how
business,
we treat it, but it's big because there's like protected classes throughout the country, and those classes differ which state you're in. Because I work in 3 different states, so I have to learn 3 different sets of protected
That's
classes.
the thing about the United States of America that's so ironic. It's like we're the most divided country in the world right now, but yet we're the
Within
United
ourselves.
States. Like
What makes us united?
unfortunately, like
That we share the same content.
We don't.
Let's take race.
Continent? No.
Let's take
48 states do.
I mean,
Let's take race
technically,
off the table.
Alaska does.
Let's take race off the table of division, right? Let's say we're completely united racially. We're divided by 50 states. Like, we don't even have the same set of laws within the... each state is almost like its own separate entity.
Government.
Not even almost. That's
It is.
literally what it is.
Literally, I can
Facts.
smoke a J walking down the street in Massachusetts and go to New Hampshire and get slapped with a fine
Absolutely
or arrested.
In 2020, we are probably the most divided country in
course.
America.
Different
I mean, in
laws.
America. in the world.
In the world.
He's
Easily.
drunk. You just woke up from a nap. As
Yeah,
you can
facts.
tell.
I don't blame
did.
him. I don't blame him.
Y'all don't gotta know what time it is. Just know I woke up from a nap.
Facts. Oh,
But,
man.
It ain't light outside.
We're definitely like looking. I mean, but then again, it also does like a lot of these things boil back down to like what we're being given to digest via the media. How divided are we really? Some people argue that the country isn't divided at all, and it's the media
dividing us,
dividing, doing the division where it's like,
of course,
painting a picture where we're divided when in reality we're really not that as divided as the media wants to believe.
I've thought about
Let's touch on that. I mean,
the media has always been this divisive.
Is America racially divided today, or is the media painting that picture when it's not actually?
Yes, it is.
Tim says yes. Tim says yes to what? Elaborate.
There is racial indiscretion in this country still to this day.
Okay.
People are hated based on just the color of their skin.
Of course.
Or how you wear your hair. Or your last name.
But is it perpetuated by media though? Is it made to the extent that is it really as bad as as we think it is?
I'm gonna go it's pretty damn bad.
I want to say 4 years ago. I want to say 4 years ago.
Okay.
It wasn't as bad.
Okay.
But now, given the political climate, it definitely has enhanced.
I mean, we know that people's opinions are being supported by such a person as the POTUS, and they're feeling like, I can hate whoever the hell I want to hate. For whatever reason, I want to hate them.
And I want to say, I don't want to directly blame anybody. I don't want to blame directly the POTUS.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we're blaming the president.
No, and I'm going to touch on that. I want to say maybe we can't blame the POTUS for that.
No,
but I want to say people misconstruing his messages.
I could very much say media has created this whole thing that, again, when you start taking things out of context, when you start. When you look at an entire speech and you take a portion of that speech.
I'm not saying it's like him saying these things 100%.
It's media. No, it's
the media
that's
way of tweaking it.
So that's my whole thing.
But they created the divide.
The media has.
Yeah, but at the same time, people can be easily manipulated to feel a certain way about another person just based on their skin tone.
But is it perpetuated by media? Because again, if media dictates that I'm black and I'm dangerous,
hold on, I get what you're saying. But if I dangle a bone in front of a dog, is that dog gonna go for it? Yeah, probably. It's the same thing. Are you gonna jump off a cliff if I jump off a cliff? If the media tells you something, why are you gonna take that at face value and believe everything that they say, and then become racist because of what they told you is true,
or what they didn't tell you,
or what they didn't tell you?
So there's So there's just a general level of ignorance in general.
That's it, yo. You can't say that the media did this, so like no, you're racist at heart. Media that's what makes you feel that way. Is
if there's people that fully agree with whatever narrative is being painted by media, we have to address the ignorance in the room.
Yeah, the ignorance is people. People are very ignorant, uneducated in this country. This is my biggest problem. We have way too much spending outside of education. We had one of the best education systems in the world not that long ago.
That's true.
Now we're barely in the top 10 if we are.
Yeah.
I believe, education at one point was federally funded and now is state funded. So I think that has something to do with
within each community. Each school is funded differently. It doesn't make any sense. Everybody that lives in a certain community should have the same amount of funding and same opportunity that the next person has.
So my whole thing is just
community. Everybody needs to have the same opportunities.
Right.
If you're an American citizen, you need to have the same opportunities.
Excuse me.
We can't guarantee everyone's going to have the same economic resources.
Definitely not.
But when we start talking about what's being funded publicly.
If we're just talking about percentages,
things need to start.
You need to start allocating the same percentage to education everywhere.
Right.
Then we are we're not doing that.
We can't.
Whatever that education budget should be a percentage, not a number.
I think we need to go back to it being funded federally, because if we're going to sit here and talk about where we're ranked as a country, then that now becomes a country's responsibility.
It's a federal problem at that point. It's not just a state level problem.
Legit.
Right.
It's a federal problem. Damn, that kind of damn. That's
but that wasn't where we weren't even there.
To the division, I feel like we can't. If we're gonna say the media is painting a picture, like we said, it's the individuals at the end of the day, because we can't say it's the media painting the picture, because we can't say that it's necessarily the president painting a picture alone. People have to be able to come to their own conclusions on things, do their own critical thinking on things.
True.
Live your daily life. I mean, go outside. Do you feel like you're being, oppressed? Do you feel, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that answer may be. But then again, we trample on like the people that feel like, okay, there's no such thing as white privilege because they don't feel like they're benefiting from being white.
Yeah, because I see this argument all the time with people that are in my family, and I'm like, just the fact that you're saying this with nobody stepping on you, that alone is white privilege. Like,
I feel that.
White privilege is a thing, and it exists for every white person. Not every white person is necessarily privileged, but just because you're white makes you more privileged in this country than your neighbor that's non-white.
I feel like it makes you...
Interesting. Kind of elaborate a little bit on that, because that's something I might not totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
The system was created for white people.
Of course.
And it's still
not
systemic. We're not
too far removed from that very system. We're still trying to correct that system.
Yes, there are opportunities for every individual in this country, and I'm not going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you have fear walking down the street because a cop drove by, I don't have that same fear.
And I want to elaborate.
I do have that fear because you're my brother.
I want to elaborate.
He's my brother.
Right. I want to elaborate on that.
You guys.
I want to elaborate on that because when we just say when a cop drives by, it kind of takes away what it is you're saying.
Yeah.
When a paid official by the state drives by you,
we're going there.
You feel safe versus when you're paying, essentially, the state is paying someone to keep you safe.
Yeah.
When that person that's being paid by the state, your tax dollars are paying, doesn't make you feel safe, that's an issue. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
It's not like, a cop drives by, you don't feel safe, you do feel safe. Like, no, this is someone that's being funded. You know what I mean?
Okay.
On a state level. And he or she driving by is making you feel uncomfortable. That's not okay. You know what I mean? And all too often, and I want to say for great reason, people of color in these urban communities don't feel safe. They don't have that same feeling of safety. And I mean, and on the other side of the spectrum, let's look at the Karens. Their go-to line is, I'm going to call the police.
Right.
Look at that lady that was
there.
Safety, yeah.
Look at the lady that was in it might not have been Central Park, but she had the dog. She was a CEO.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Central Park.
God,
she
that's
said,
horrible, yeah.
last year or a few months ago?
That was not that long ago.
She said,
that's a different one than I've seen.
She said, I'm going to call the police and tell them that an African-American man is harassing me.
And the woman had her dog off a leash, and the gentleman was just trying to inform her to please put her dog on a leash, right?
Yep.
That is
so she was wrong.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm going to call the police, and I'm going to pretty much Emmett Till you, where it's just like, I'm going to lie to the paid officials to come out here and essentially may or may not lynch you behind the words that I'm saying.
Did she, was there any, did anything happen to her because of that? Like a false, fucking police
again, man. I know her company was looking into it. I didn't follow up completely. I know her company was looking into it, and they launched their own investigation. She may or may not have lost her job. I'll leave that up to the listeners.
I'll leave that up to y'all, man. I definitely want to know what happened to her.
Comment under here what happened. Comment her name if you know just from the little tidbits we're giving you of the story, name and what you found to be factual as repercussions of her heinous actions. But
wait, so question for y'all.
Yeah.
So are Karens the ultimate fucking signal of white privilege? Is this
they're
it's
definitely
basically
they're
that's
definitely
the human embodiment
of white privilege.
Of white privilege.
By far.
Okay.
White privilege, white entitlement.
White entitlement. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's just we're walking on the same sidewalk, but you feel you can dictate what goes on that sidewalk more than what I can dictate. Meanwhile, it's a public space.
Fuck.
You know what I mean?
Just there's been a lot of those motherfucking
just
videos,
the walking
man.
on the ground, walking on the same ground, but feeling you're entitled to it more than I am because
that's
of
crazy.
What? Your whiteness? It's not okay.
Man,
it's just not okay.
There's gotta be something that could be done about this.
I mean, they are trying to make it illegal for people to call in for emergency police for non-emergency. I mean, that's already illegal.
Yeah, that's already illegal. Yeah.
Right,
they're
like
trying to
so
make
that
it-
situation, my
but
dog's
spec-
off the leash. How
But
do you
specifically, like falsifying, the severity of these situations, pretty much trying to imbecile people, calling the police, falsely accusing people of doing things, pretty much wasting the police's time. They're trying to make that more into like almost a hate crime, where it's like,
I hope so.
you called the police for what? In all reality,
Yeah.
you know what you said happened, but we're here. That's not exactly the case.
Things aren't connected. Things aren't correlated.
Yeah.
Bro, I feel like I live under a rock, man.
Dude, the
I feel like
PISA
I'm
worldwide
wrong.
ranking has the United States at 31.
Oh, I was gonna say 34.
education.
If I had to guess, I was
This
gonna say
is
34.
mathematics, science, and reading. Combined
Oh, yeah, we're fucking
statistics.
stupid.
So 31st. So that was my point earlier. I was just trying to find the
Luckily,
actual
we live
numbers.
in Mass, which is like the number
They're
one ranked
smarter.
state.
Yeah, they're number one ranked state. Yeah.
But I mean, so I want
you
to
gotta
see.
take the average of
I
every
want to
state.
see on a global, like the same way like we're ranked like globally, the United States. I want to see where Mass is
I just
on
said
a
we're not-
global
on a
spectrum.
global, like
On
if
a
Mass
global
was its own
spectrum.
Oh
country.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely under. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That'd be interesting to see because I think I don't know. I think we'll crack maybe. I think would be somewhere in the upper 15th percentile. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
I don't know.
Retarded.
Who knows, man?
Down
There's a
with
lot
the
of
mess.
there's 30 countries ahead of us in education at this time.
As a country,
apparently.
yeah. It's
I mean,
hard
so
to
what's
tell.
I want to know like what's the like what are we like? Are we looking at like SAT scores? Are we looking?
No,
at
these are
certain-
like math.
like what's the
math,
index
reading,
used to
and
determine
science.
that rating?
The program for 15-year-old students' scholastic performance on mathematics, science, and reading.
Oh,
Scholastic. Okay.
Scholastic. Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
basically
fuck.
anything you're doing in school.
Yeah, legit. But I mean, is that like?
Again, it goes
Like-
back to curriculum.
This
So
is
who's
from
like,
Yeah, so I mean, who's
2018.
who's rating these curriculums? and
Again, so
determining
another
them?
study found us 30th. So we're right in that range. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Again, it's all about what you're learning, your curriculum, and your funding. Because mind you, there's one teacher to 25, 30 students. Each student's not getting the same education,
Or level of education.
and there's 30 people that all learn differently.
of course.
So this all comes back to funding education, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We need to put more money there.
And my thing is like,
Why are teachers getting paid so little? That they have to buy supplies for their classmates or for their students.
For
It
the
doesn't make
students.
sense.
I feel like kids should be exposed to a lot more when it comes to like just career shit in general.
Opportunities, yes. Like
Because they're just, because kids are literally like, you're allowing a kid from an early age to determine what it is their life goal is going to be.
and then we're talking. We're mainly pushing kids to college. It's like, hey, go to
Legit,
college.
yeah, just go to
We
college and
need
you'll figure it
more
out. Nah, you
trade workers right now. There's a shortage in the country,
legit.
but we're not putting people on. We're not making it important to people that we need these trade workers, whatever.
yeah,
Of
no,
course.
we're not. That's
kinda
been an
weird.
issue. That's been
That's
an
so-
issue. I mean, the
that's
resources, the resources are there though. Low key, like there's Job Corps, there's the
Yeah.
vocational schools.
You have to
and stuff.
look into those,
Yeah,
though.
you have to
Vocational
look into
schools
them
are a little bit
bit.
more selective though. Like
Yeah,
you have to have a certain
the one
attendance.
around us is like there's
far
250 people,
Yeah, their graduation classes are like
whereas our school is
100
almost
kids.
1,000 kids.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
They need to go back to teaching these things more commonly, as
Or just
well.
at least tell people the options, because you can make money doing trades. You can make more money than someone that has a degree.
Legit.
No,
And,
depending on your job.
You're going into a situation where you're not encouraging that, take up a large sum of debt first.
Right.
And then work,
You
you
don't
know what
even
I'm saying?
have
You're
to
working
do all that.
backwards.
You gotta
And then-
everything you do in this country, like when someone's telling you anything that someone tells you to do with your life, is take it for a grain of salt, because again, this is a capitalistic society. People
whatever
are.
you want.
This is a for-profit country.
Everything is for profit.
So they're going to tell you to go to college because that's where the money's at. That's where their
profitable.
pockets are going to be lining. You know what I mean? You're going to be lining their pockets for the next 14 years of your life.
Or more, depending on how long it takes you to pay off that $100K plus debt that you have for a 4-year degree.
Legit.
If you finish your degree.
I'm a huge proponent of community colleges.
Depends on if you actually get a job in that field, because that's another problem.
I really wish people wouldn't go to school for like liberal arts degrees. Like I hope it was a little
liberal
more
arts, like music. Like I love like music degrees. I know people personally that have music degrees that work in warehouses.
Yeah,
I think
don't
go to
pay
school. I mean, I'm still very pro go to school for whatever it is you want to go to school for.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the end of the day, just know that if you're gonna make any type of money doing anything, you're gonna have to hustle. Like
you're gonna have to hustle, and you're gonna have to specify in something.
Yes, exactly what I was trying to say.
If you're trying to go to school, like you can
don't go to UML and get a liberal arts degree, because it's like, bro, you're gonna be stuck. You could have gotten a liberal arts degree from MCC.
Go to community college,
and then you figure out from there. You figure out like find these cheaper alternatives. If you don't know, take a step back. Get out of these big schools. Go to something a little more local, a little more cheaper. Don't put yourself
and also stop putting yourself in the timetables of society. Like you don't have to be out. You don't have to graduate college or anything in anyone's amount of time. Like do things at your own pace.
Like what I suggest, take a year after high school, figure out what you actually want to do with your life before jumping into college and making these decisions that are for the rest of your life. Which I don't think is even true. You don't necessarily, it doesn't matter.
People change. People go back to school all the time. You know what I
mean? But legit. You have to be able to make sure that you're going to want a job in that career before you even get into that field of education, field of study, whatever.
You have to try everything out, then make your decision. Because you never know what might strike a chord with you. You never know. But don't spend all this money on one thing that isn't going to pay out the way you think it's going to.
Right, like I went to school for 2 years and that stuff was so boring to me. I was like, I'm out of it. I'm not going to graduate in this field.
Nah, man.
Because what is that going to do? I'm going to be bored my whole life? No, thank you. I'm out of there.
No, I feel you on that.
I was really going to school for business out here being bored in business class because all of this shit I learned prior to going to college.
Right.
Yo, like, luckily a lot of that stuff was covered by by financial aid. So I didn't come out of pocket an insane amount of cash. But just imagine I was at a UML, me being bored in these classes that I already knew and could very well apply. Doesn't take a fucking college degree to own a business. It does not.
Right.
It doesn't take a college education to do almost anything in this country.
Legit.
Well, that's not necessary.
Like to be successful, you
don't necessarily. Yeah, you don't.
For sure.
To be a doctor, get your college degree, please.
But you do need a plan.
Yes.
A blueprint.
Plan.
Another plan.
You have to have hard work. I guess you don't have hard work.
And the means to resources.
Yeah, you're gonna have access to capital.
Even if your resources are other people's knowledge.
So if you're gonna, substitute
a diploma, takes capital.
Everything takes capital.
We're talking money.
But then we're talking, what is your definition of successful then, JP? Because I don't know necessarily that my definition of successful means being wealthy.
No, but I mean, you need to have an access to capital to fund what you're trying to do to be
being successful is just me helping other people, and it doesn't even have to be in a way that costs money. You know what I mean?
So give me an example.
Okay, so if you want to be an individual that is maybe not lucrative, but if you want to be an individual that generates wealth or money, then that's what we're talking about.
I know that's what most people think as successful. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and I completely understand.
Because everybody's definition of being successful could be different.
Right. Of course. But the definition for being wealthy or generating wealth is definitely fine print.
And then so I'm reading this book where the definition of wealthy and the definition of you don't have to have a high income job to be wealthy.
Oh, of course, no. Not. It's just.
And there's a lot of people that have high income jobs that are not wealthy
because they're not, because they're doing a lot of things. A lot of times when people will get a raise, for instance, what's the first thing they do?
Buy
a new car.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Appreciating
now
asset.
right, you know what I mean? So now that 10K plus that you're getting a year just pretty much went to that car. So you're still in the same position you were before.
Instead of saving that money, investing that money
legit,
in something, maybe buying real estate, something that isn't a depreciating asset.
Of course.
Thank you, salesman.
Of course.
Right? Car salesman.
If y'all need a Volkswagen, y'all know where to hit me up. Shameless plug.
Oh man, but nah, I feel that. Damn, that's crazy. But nah, and it all pretty much boils down to, again, like, you doing for self.
You have to.
Speaking of doing for self, or I guess not. How about that Patrick Mahomes deal? Now that is a successful contract.
He did
about
for
$45 million a year for 10 years.
No. The final numbers are around. He could make up to $503 million in 10 years.
So the average is about $50 million a year.
$500 million.
Well, I will say this.
Wow.
Well, slow it down. Taxes, where he lives, Kansas.
Right, I get that.
You know what I mean? So now these numbers are getting a lot more chopped up, and also how the NFL kind of, not even just the NFL, but a lot of how these contracts pay you is kind of like the NFL mainly guaranteed money.
Well,
you know what I mean? What are we talking guaranteed?
A lot of that. That's what I was reading. That a lot of his, like a lot of it, it's like performance bonuses and stuff. That
yeah, but he has a lot of his guaranteed. I'm gonna look the exact.
I thought it was 37. I heard 37 mil of every.
So I'm gonna say this. So between
every year, it's about 37 mil.
So he's guaranteed $370 million.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Which is
no, but I'm just saying.
Which is a lot less than five. It's a lot of money, but it's a lot less than 500 and what?
Right.
30. You said 503 million. So now we're already chopping that down to 307, right?
370,
which is still buku bucks.
Of course.
Now we're chopping that down by at least, we'll say, 25% off taxes.
Yeah, I think it's like
probably even more
like
because he's in a different tax bracket, right?
Yeah.
So we'll say a third, right? It's hovering around 30 to 33, 34% for that tax bracket, I would assume. Mm-hmm. So now we're chopping that down to, we'll say, 203 million.
Yeah, right around.
Just off taxes, right? And then, like you said, performance bonuses and stuff like that. It's just like, now these numbers are so polarizing, but in reality, what people are going home with isn't always what it seems. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And like,
facts.
I mean, that's true. Like, whatever my contract is for my job, I don't make that money.
You know what I'm saying?
Like half of that's taxed.
A lot of that is taxed, yeah.
Right.
And
so in the final like acts to the check, it's kind of just like how they pay you, like how they break down this money. It's not always okay. 500 million divided by 10 years. It's never actually like that.
It's never that.
It's like 20 million year one.
A portion of that is
30 million next year.
A part of this is how many times.
Whatever.
You know what I'm saying?
This is how many times you could get me to the fucking
Super
Bowl,
me a couple get an MVP, whatever his. They haven't even released a full contract yet. So.
But I'm still proud of the guy. He's still getting paid.
Still like there's only been 5 prior 10-year contracts in the history of the NFL.
Damn.
All quarterbacks. 5 out of 6 of these quarterbacks are black QBs.
Wow.
And if you know anything about the NFL, there's not that many black QBs that are actually successful in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's true.
I've actually heard like the science behind that.
It's like the other 5 for Drew Bledsoe, only a white guy. Culpepper.
Okay.
Cunningham, Michael Vick, and McNabb.
Hey.
The only one that actually became somewhat worth the deal was McNabb. He signed a 12-year contract, actually.
Damn.
Really?
I heard a science a few years ago. Not a science, but there was this guy who had a theory on YouTube behind the whole black QB thing. So as we all know, like a quarterback is typically like the face
of the franchise
team. You know what I mean? The franchise. So like there's roughly 13% of America is black.
Yes.
So they try to directly, this is what this guy's saying, they try to directly correlate that with the faces of the NFL. Where it's like, now we want to strive for around 13% black quarterbacks.
I have heard that like when you start looking into like, again, corporations and again, the people employed there, that they start reflecting the numbers of
the country, right?
Of the country.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's pretty intense.
I mean, it makes
Holy
sense,
shit.
but then you look at the percentage of African Americans in NBA.
in any sport in general.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then
other
it
than
starts
hockey,
looking a little weird.
Hockey,
Yeah.
maybe the MLB.
Yeah.
MLB has a lot of like Hispanic
Yeah,
players
a lot
and
of Spanish
Latinos.
players, a lot of Dominicans.
I should say.
Shout out mi dominicana, tú sabes.
What does that mean?
But I mean, that's
Poppy's bodyguard over here talking
Oh,
mad
God.
That was
shit.
just a little theory. That was just a little theory I had stumbled across. I didn't look into it.
I
too
read
much.
that a little bit too. Like
Yeah,
I
did you?
saw the headline. I
Nah, I
read a little
definitely-
bit, and I was like, "Oh shit!" It makes me
It
look
makes
at
a
things a
little
little bit
sense.
different.
That's a
But
little
I
merit.
never
to it.
really dabbled into it. Like,
But the percentage of those like African Americans in the NFL, I'm telling you now, is probably greater than 13%.
Oh, probably,
Plus,
definitely.
of quarterbacks and of successful quarterbacks.
And again, we're talking.
I don't know. I'd
about
have to actually do the math now because you have a few now.
the key word was kind of like faces of the franchise. You know what I
Of
mean?
course.
Oh yeah, so I
The
guess
quarterback
yeah.
being the face is like, okay, this is what this team is like standing on. You know what I mean?
of course,
Yeah,
not
you
looking
got
at-
Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers.
Right, we can name
Yeah.
quarterbacks all day,
Yeah.
but how many nose tackles can you name? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're-
understandable.
Not me, right?
Analyst Tim may be
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
than the
let's-
average human being when it comes to these things.
Let's
But
not
There's been
open
times
that
I've been
can
listening
of
to the
worms.
radio, like for a game that wasn't even the Patriots game, and they'll like say a lineman's number. I'm like, what is this dude doing? I say his name, and my brother looks at me. What the fuck are you? How do you know that? I'm just like, I don't even know sometimes because I don't even
honest, I don't know where you keep it all.
I don't know, man. There's only so much cranium up there.
Half of
So
my-
much
Sometimes the
cranium
numbers,
space.
I just am a numbers guy. So if I remember your number that you were the number on this team, and you got this penalty against this team. Then I remember your number when you trade teams. 'Cause
feel that.
Linemen typically keep the same number, around the same number.
You're one of those guys.
I don't know. I'm
I
a
think
numbers
you're
guy.
in the wrong profession.
Like, I mean, definitely not. Definitely am, but who knows?
I was like,
On that note,
Right?
oh man, yo, honestly,
On
great
that
discussion,
note-
boys.
on that
great
note,
week, man.
peace-
This is our
peace,
first
loving.
UnPC podcast.
Yeah.
Please,
Episode
feedback.
1.
We need the feedback.
Yeah, we need it to
Love
improve,
it, share
guys.
it.
We need
Don't
y'all
love
to
it.
improve.
Please share anyways.
Right.
Legit.
Give us your feedback. Give us your thoughts. Peace, love, and vibrations.
Facts.
Good vibrations.
Be safe out
Cool
there.
runnings.
y'all.
Cool runnings, guys.
Cool runnings.
Be safe. Eat well.
Drink water.
Invest in stocks.
And don't be sheep.
And don't be sheep.
Oh.
We'll see you guys next week.
For sure. Take it easy. Signing out. Peace.